Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and you're going to know my guest today. He's got a long martial arts lineage. He's a serial martial arts entrepreneur, from owning his own martial arts schools to starting martial arts CRM and software and real estate investor. We got with us today Grandmaster Park, aka GMP. What's up there, sir?
Hey, so exciting to be here, and I've been trying to connect. We finally were able to. My apologies. And I'm also excited to hear that you're local here in South Florida. We're like 15 minutes away, so we're neighbors. So we're going to have to connect and do some SoFlo stuff together.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, when I moved in the area, I was talking to your partner, Ron, and he was like, "Oh, you know that GMP lives there?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know he lived in Fort Lauderdale." So, yeah, we'll have to do something together in person. I think we should do our next podcast episode in a studio or something so we can talk face to face.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So, as being an entrepreneur in martial arts, I'm curious, like, what you think of as your identity. And do you think of yourself as a martial artist first, or do you think yourself as an entrepreneur first, or do you think yourself as a real estate investor first? What's your identity when you think about your martial arts career?
I'm definitely a martial artist at heart. I was brought up that way. My late father, Grandmaster Cheong Park, was a very revered, renowned Taekwondo master. He was documented 1968 world heavyweight Taekwondo champion. So we grew up practically in martial arts. Sometimes having had to live in there. The heritage of martial arts traditions is deep rooted in me, and that's who I identify myself as first. It's interesting you asked me that question because I remember talking to somebody and they were saying, "Hey, what do you do?" And then I told them what I do. And the first thing I told them, I said, "I'm a martial artist. I'm a Taekwondo master." And then I blurted out other things too. And then he goes, "Oh, I see where your heart is first at. So your passion is Taekwondo." I go, "Yes, actually that is." And I was amazed. I just talking, have normal conversation, just recognize that and bring that up. It's subconscious. Now it's conscious because having multiple companies, especially in the position that I'm in, most important thing is not forgetting the root. What led to the road today? It all started from somewhere. And that's something I keep close to my heart, that I first always a martial artist. That's what opened the doors of becoming a serial entrepreneur that I was able to accomplish today.
Do you think if you would have done something else, I don't know, you would have did gymnastics or baseball or something else, do you think you still would have been entrepreneurial, or do you think martial arts gave you the confidence to do those sort of things? Or do you think that's just innate?
I mean, as a child growing up, you don't know. But as you start to become an adolescent, start to realize your upbringing, your heritage, your family, and your environment, and you start to put all those pieces of puzzle together, then you're able to better self-identify yourself and able to characterize yourself and able to communicate that within yourself and come to a conclusive understanding of whom you are as a person. And martial artists definitely gave me that understanding, the confidence, the determination, the focus, being relentless, persevering, and having values to align with those beliefs. It's definitely something very special. And I think that's what makes martial arts so empowering and such a necessity in today's world, especially what's going on. We live in a crazy world. Believe it or not, I'm 56 years old. I know I don't look at South Florida Botox and the fillers and the great job and the steroids and stuff.
The TRTs.
I had the blessing of growing up in my early years in the early 80s to 90s to 2000s. And what a change each of those decades has brought, especially now being a father about to enter into the fourth quarter of my life, and I look at everything from the past, present, and the future, and we're at some pretty challenging times. And more than ever, I realize how necessity martial arts is in our society. And I think that is a core mission of here at Spark membership. Same thing with now, Spark Drive, along with Master Roncel, Roland Osborne. And our mission is to really level up that understanding, because it's in our human nature to be subconscious, to be subliminal, meaning we are living in somewhat of a routine, habit maintained ecosystem. And we can easily get just caught up in that. We have to have the power as martial artists to jump out of that and realize the power that we hold and the differences that we can make, and how important that is in the lives that we are interacting on a daily basis, which is our students and their families.
What I want to know is when you're a kid growing up and your family are like renowned martial artists, like champions or whatever in Taekwondo, one of the big Taekwondo families. What's it like growing up as a kid through that? Is it a lot of pressure? Do you have to perform at competitions? What's it actually like as a kid?
That's an interesting, because like as a kid, you just don't know. You just don't know until you get to a certain part. But my father did a really heck of a job, first of all, training in the physical part of martial arts. My father was a very high caliber, knowledge person, so he instilled that in us. I think he trained the heck out of us, and then some. And
How did he train you guys? What did that actually look like?
summer vacations, right? What every kids are like, summer, yay! To me, summer was like, oh, going to the school 10 o'clock in the morning, cleaning the school, and then start training at noon with dad, going over everything, and then helping him teach classes. So that was basically our life. But that instills such core strength of foundation in me as being not just a martial artist spiritually, but martial artist psychologically, meaning understanding the technicalities and the science of Taekwondo.
Hmm. Has Taekwondo, you think, as a sport changed since when you were a kid to what it is now?
Oh yeah, yes, it's definitely changed. The sports aspect of Taekwondo, the Olympics, even how that has changed. What it was first, of course, the sparring part has been recognized as the Olympic sport, but even the science of sparring, how it evolved from '88 until now, it's a whole nother sport. It's a whole nother sport. But I think martial arts is a great place for the community, and not only for the community, we as school owners, that's where my entrepreneurship began. It began in the martial arts, and once I was exposed to the martial arts business, the opportunity, and understanding that martial arts can be a very strong livelihood and is a powerful stepping stone for entrepreneurship. And once I realized that, I learned to leverage the martial arts environment to become the entrepreneur that I am today. The amount of people, even if you're just a medium-sized school with double-digit students, which, martial arts is one of the also very few businesses I know that's just around for decades. I know school owners have been around for decades. They may still have double-digit students, but they've been in business for decades. Imagine the amount of traffic of people that you have come in contact with throughout the decades. But your third eye for entrepreneurship and opportunity has to stay open. And that is the only way that you're going to take your current position that you're in as a martial arts school owner and expand it into other entrepreneurship.
So when you were a kid and your dad, was your dad or your grandfather?
My
Who was
father,
or both?
my late.
Your father. So your father, And how many schools did he have?
He always had one school.
One school. And did he talk to you about business? Did he say, hey, here's what our revenue is, here's what our profit is, here's what our attrition rate is? Did he talk about
Actually,
business stuff
no.
with you? Or was it
The
just sport?
he was like the old school old grandmaster. I happened to, on my mother's side, also had a uncle who was a grandmaster, but my mother's side of the family, they've always been very savvy people, very business orientated, very business minded, very entrepreneurship minded. And I had an uncle who had a school in hours from here, actually where I grew up. And he he was also good friends with the late Grandmaster Junri. Are you familiar with who Grandmaster Junri is?
Yeah, of course. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, he's also probably one of the first people that introduced the science of martial arts into the martial arts industry. So my uncle was good friends with him. There was a crossroad where I didn't want to know what to do with my life because growing up in martial arts school, being trained like that, and martial arts was just after a while it was an overload. And after I graduated high school, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this martial art thing. And I was at a very confused part of my life. What do I want to do? And that's when my mom shipped me off to my uncle in Sarasota. And my uncle in Sarasota kind of showed me the entrepreneurship to the martial art business. And once he showed me that, it really sparked an interest in me, the science of the business side of what we do. And then he took me to a couple of business seminars, and from there, that's where everything became history.
So your dad was like your martial arts mentor. Your uncle was more of your business mentor. Was there a certain book or anything he had you read? Like, all right, you gotta read, I don't know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Was
Now
there something he's
you're
like,
talking about these are like old school Korean grandmasters. They didn't grow up, oh, read the next dad next to me, martial arts, and the millionaire next door, how to win friends
yeah,
and
no.
influence people, or the E-Myth, or it wasn't anything like that. Of course, as I started to network and expose myself to other successful martial arts people, that's when I started to um, read books and stuff. But I'm going to be honest with you. In the entrepreneurship world, now I've been blessed to be around some high level people and have even become friends with some really high level people. If I threw some names out there, you would know who they are. And they're all big on books. Read this, that. Because of my extreme ADHD, I cannot pay attention for a long period of time. But I've been exposed to enough books. I'm not going to sit here and told you, oh, I read that book from front cover to back cover. I would skim through it, read cliff notes of that book, and kind of have an understanding. I'm here to tell you, listen, to be a successful entrepreneur, you don't have to read 100 books from front to back, but have an understanding what that particular book is, what the science of that book is, and how it can be applied. If you have enough understanding, it can empower you. If you want to really get into the details, and then I suggest read from start to finish. For example, my friend Dan Martell, I'm sure you know who he is.
Yep.
His book, Buy Back Your Time. That's a scientific book. When I say science, meaning, okay, that's the type of book you have to read from front to back to understand. Okay, then there are like psychological motivational books that's designed to empower your mind. There's so many books of that kind. They're more of a mind shift, mindset type of books. I believe those books is something you don't really have to read from front to back. Look at the table of contents, see which one really hits core of you, and get into that and make mental notes. And I believe that works too.
Okay, yeah. And especially now, I think when I was in my, I would say late teens, early 20s, just starting out my career, I used to think like you just read as many books as possible. But then I wouldn't remember half of it anyway, more than half, wouldn't remember 90% of it.
Right?
And I realized it's better to just read one book 5 times than read 5 books one time. And if I read that one book and just take action right away, because I can't even tell you, and I'm sure you talk to other martial arts school owners like I do, where it's like they consume so much information. They listen to my podcast. They listen to I don't know, Relentless podcast or something. They listen to a bunch of them, right? And they read a bunch of books and they click on every ad, but they don't ever take action. They're just information hoarders,
Right.
right? And they don't actually do anything.
Like a
And it's like they're going to come on board
a
with me.
student, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm forever a student. And it's like, okay, you have a business and you have bills to pay. If you really want to create the business you want, stop doing all these things. Stop collecting information. Just start doing the work. Stop planning. Right? You can build the parachute on the way off the cliff. Right?
Right.
Like you'll figure it out on the way down. And it's so frustrating sometimes because they're like, "Oh yeah, I know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." It's like, no, go do it right now. Like, why even talking to me?
We've heard that
Right?
saying, right? Fear not the man who can do 2,000 kicks, but fear the man who can do one kick 2,000 times.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
maybe give you a powerful tip. This is powerful for me. If something catches your emotion, put that emotion psychologically, write it down if you have to, then expand on that emotion because that's what impacted you. And that could be, and it could be from a conversation. Like another person, good friend of mine is a gentleman named Garrett Gunderson. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He created a company called Wealth Factory and then he exited from it. He's like the money guru. He's been on every news network, talk shows and stuff. And I met him through actually a high level mastermind with Dan Martell. And Ron and I invested like $30,000 to spend one day with him. Okay. And of course, he does complete audit and helps you. But the one day I spent with him, he said something, one line, not to me, not to Ron, but to his executive assistant. And I say to myself, wow, did he just say that at the level he's at financially, this and that? And he said, he was just talking. And then he looked at his executive, so he looked at his EA and goes, yeah, of course, every penny counts. I was like, did he just say every penny counts? So I was like, wow. And that hit me emotionally. And I really expanded on that. I saw that. I'm like, wow, how we not think of every penny in that fashion, especially when you hit certain level of success, you get, I don't want to say lackadaisious or lazy with money, but sometimes you're just like $1,000, whatever, just do it. Just, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, absolutely. Like you overlook things. Like in the beginning, you're very tight with your purse, but then as you start to make more money,
you just,
oh, you don't notice there's like a recurring charge of $100 a month on your credit card till 8 months later, 2 years later.
oh
You
my
don't even
God.
think about it. Yeah. But in the past, you would notice that right away. And yeah, obviously, being more scrupulous with your spending is going to be important. But I think even more important than that is I know that when I was going to a lot of industry events, like within the martial arts, I would get like the same information recycled over and over again. And it wasn't until I stepped outside the martial arts industry and I joined a mastermind that people were doing 10 times the amount of any martial arts school that I was like, oh, there's like different levels to this. And you hear different ideas. So I'm not going to take, I think a low level martial arts operator only takes ideas from other martial arts schools. Oh, the one they grew up in, they'll take ideas from that for how to run a birthday party or something, or how to process new members. And they'll only look at the people nearby. But that's like the people that are probably about the average of what they are. And they need to look like what I look at is I want to know what Barry's boot camp is doing. I want to know what Planet Fitness is doing. I want to know what Starbucks is doing. I don't care what Johnny's Karate down the street. That makes no difference to me what they're doing. I could care less, right? I want to know what Tony Robbins is doing to bring in clients for his mastermind that also cost him 15,000 for a weekend or something, and that's a room of 2,000 people,
right.
right? That's what I want to know. And I think when every time you step out and you talk to someone new outside the industry, you expand your horizon, and you don't need to read books anymore to do that. You can just really talk to people. You can watch YouTube videos, you listen to podcasts. I think reading has not been outdated. I think reading is good. I still read a lot, but you don't need to be a reader to be successful or to be smart. Like there's too many other ways to consume information now. You can listen to audiobooks, right? That's totally okay. We have so many options now
Right.
as long as you
No, I
take action,
totally
right?
agree. Martial arts industry is a very special industry. The reason it's a very special industry because it has a certain value that a lot of industries don't have. And it is also somewhat of a handicap because of that, which is we are a passion. We are a passion driven industry. We're one of the most passionate, meaning we're so empowered by martial arts because what it has done for us. It has impacted us so emotionally. It's become passion. And when something becomes passion, it's such a strong fire, they feel the necessity to follow that passion, which is very powerful, which a lot of industries don't have. And I've been fortunate growing a lot of successful people. Even today, I have a lot of successful friends. Some of them hate what they're doing and they're making millions. I'm like, dude, you're making millions. Like, yeah, but I don't enjoy what I do. I mean, yeah, I guess either, but I'd rather be doing interior design. That's a passion, but that is somewhat of also handicaps us because I've known high level corporate people that work for Fortune 1,500 companies left that position to teach martial arts because that fire passion is so strong, but not realizing when we follow our passion to do something at a level where we want to service the world, you're getting into a business. You're getting into a business. And because of the fact martial arts is a passion driven business, it becomes a passion project. And you and I know in the entrepreneur world, when you go into a business that is passion project, you run into a lot of problems. Because when you follow passion, you're forgetting the fact that you becoming an entrepreneur. And behind an entrepreneur, you open a door, it widens to marketing, to SOPs, to sales, to this, that. And I think that's where the core weakness of our industry is. It is still today, even though the last several decades, this is progressed tremendously. The pandemic was probably, in my opinion, the best thing that could happen to the martial art industry because there were schools out there literally had no business teaching martial arts the way they were, in the manner they were, in an environment they were.
Or they even have a website.
I mean, it's terrible. So literally, like close to 60% of martial arts schools closed down during that time. And even though some of those schools are like heartbreaking to see them close because some of them were decent schools, but most weren't. And that's why we had that shakeout. And I think that represents now a tremendous opportunity since then, because the schools that was able to survive the pandemic, and even after the additional 10% shakeout, that's why I said 60% rather than 50%, because there was additional shakeout from it. The 40% that survived were the ones that kind of had, to a certain degree, understanding the entrepreneurship skill. When something is also passion driven, you know what people want to do? Help everybody, which is great. But in our industry, help everybody means also helping other school owners where the dilution of come in. And that's why within our own industry, we've developed this reputation of, geez, you're a consultant too? I've never seen an industry that is filled with so much consulting, so much coaching, so much this. They have a seminar to offer. They have a book to buy, a manual to purchase, a system to purchase.
Can I combat that? I think that's wrong. I'll tell you why I think that's wrong. Because I think we think that because we're in the martial arts world, and just like you, my Facebook is full of ads, right? Get 100 students in 100 days. Yeah. 30 students guaranteed, pay per student, whatever, a million ads, right? And some of those companies I've worked with and happy to click on their ad and pay for them. Awesome. Some of them I have not. But I don't think our industry is like different in terms of consultants in other industries. I bet you if you work in real estate, because I'm sure you have friends who work in real estate or do wholesaling or there's a bazillion real estate consultants to teach how to sell real estate. If you do insurance, there's a billion of them. So I think we just see the martial arts one because that's what we're targeted on Facebook. But I don't think our industry has like more percentage wise than any other. In fact, probably real estate has even more percentage wise.
The existence of the martial arts industry in numbers wise is so minute compared to realtors or attorneys like that. We're in such a niche small business compared to
Yeah.
corporate. I think the population is a lot smaller in our industry in that sense, in that.
No, we're definitely smaller, but don't you think like you just see it because you're targeted on Facebook because you have martial arts in your profile?
Yeah, yes,
Like
I agree.
that makes you feel like you see it more
That's a,
often.
no,
And
that's a
also a
very,
lot of those.
oh, that's an interesting point, a very right point. But also, well, you and I have been exposed to the industry from other side too. We especially now my position with Spark World, I'm exposed to the mainstream, not just as a school owner, but also as the other side, that's servicing the industry. So I see it from a point of view. It's definitely there's a lot out there. Definitely a lot out there, and I think coaching comes down to two things or mentorship. Okay, I think guidance is important. I think everybody needs guidance, whether you're successful or not. Even I need guidance. And in my opinion, that comes from two things, either emotional or scientific. And I think there's a lot of emotional coaching in our industry and not enough scientific. And I think that's where we need more. I think we need more science. And all those people that you mentioned earlier, Matthew, I want to know what the Starbucks are doing, the Tony Robbins, if you peel the label and able to go through the back door, there is a science behind that. That is why they're so successful. And that is one thing our martial arts industry has not been educated into yet. There's not enough science. There's tons of emotions because it's a passion driven industry. And when something is passion, it's full of emotion, full of emotion. That's why emotion is a very prominent ingredient, and there's not enough science. And I think we're at a point of an era, we are living in a very high technology times than ever. I mean, we are seeing technology exploding, especially with AI, with this artificial intelligence. The things that you can do with artificial intelligence technology is just incredible. And I think that's where we have the opportunity, especially a company like Spark, where we can leverage technology. Why? Because we have access to thousands of schools and we have access to data. And I think that's where science needs to start coming into our industry, where we are able to understand our data and come up with a technology that is going to mesh the two together and help us come up with scientific solutions. So that way we know why like a Starbucks is what it is, how Tony Robbins does what he does, because there's a science approach behind it. And I think that's so needed in our industry because I think we are going into our school on a daily basis with intentions, meaning we're going there to teach class, to sell membership, to upgrade our students, to generate income. But I don't think we're doing it in a scientific way. Like, for example, when you get into when you go on a road trip, okay, when you go into a car, you're driving to a destination, and every day you're getting closer to that destination is intended. I think that's where our industry is lacking. There's not enough of that. Our intention is just go into school, work hard, and you know what? That coaching program sounds really good. I've been hearing a lot about it actually. Matter of fact, they're one of the bigger guys, and it's very emotional based, which is great because that's what human beings are attached to, emotions. But I don't think there's enough technology, data that gives scientific solutions.
One of the things that I've been vying for a while, I talked to Mike Dillard, the CEO of Century, right? And I'm like, hey, we have all this martial arts gear that's been outdated forever. It's not comfortable for women to wear. It's uncomfortable for me most of the time, and I've been doing it my whole life. I can't wait. I mean, I like being a gi, but I can't wait to take it off at the end of the day. I'm not like, oh, I'm not comfortable walking in my gi at a supermarket,
Right.
but if I was doing yoga or something, I would have no problem like wearing yoga clothes to the supermarket, right?
Right. Right.
That's all women do is that, in fact, they wear yoga clothes, preferably when they're at the supermarket, if they're not
No,
going to
no,
yoga class,
listen,
right?
that's standard issue. The yoga pants, whether you're tall, skinny, overweight, not overweight, beautiful, not beautiful, yoga pants is a standard issue.
Listen, I'm a big fan of yoga pants. All right, don't get me wrong, a huge fan. But the problem is martial arts hasn't caught up to that. The athleisure wear that like Lululemon brings in, where it's like it. Yes, you could use it for sport, but it's also super comfortable. I have no. If I'm a parent, maybe I don't want to spend $100 for a gi for my kid, but maybe if they're like 4 years old, I'll be like, get the cheap one. Maybe later I'll get you a nice one. But if I'm an adult and I want to wear something nice, like I should have an option to buy something that's $200. It feels really. I don't mind. Like I have $100 pair of sweatpants, right? Like sweatpants used to be $5 or $10, but like this one is like super nice. I love it, and I never wear my other ones, my cheap ones, right? So like I think especially like in the industry, we need to catch up in our gear, what we wear, but also like why don't we have more tech wear? Like, why don't we have a pair of gloves that can track how many punches you did during that class, or how much
Right.
power,
That's
or
what
how
I'm talking
much,
about.
you
Using
know?
technology.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
exactly. We need more tech. We need more tech on what we wear because then, if we're more data driven, then we could show students, here's how hard you hit when you first started. Here's how hard you hit now. Here's what you need to work on. And it's we can still be the coach and the instructor, right? But we need it can't just be decisions based on intuition. It needs to be data. Like what you think when a supermarket makes a decision, you think they're like, yeah, we're gonna move the tomatoes over there because we think it's gonna do better, or it's oh no, the tomatoes are down 4.5% since we moved them next to the apples. I think the colors are too similar. Let's
Right.
move them next to
Yeah,
the banana on the
there's a
other
reason
side.
why oranges, lemon, and lime are always placed together. There's a reason, there's a
Yeah.
science behind that. I think the closest person far as like when it comes to really cool type of apparel, high quality apparel, is probably Roland Osborne, hyper martial
Yeah.
arts. His gear, his swag is definitely one of the best I've seen. Not just from
Mm.
a branding point of view, but also in comfort wise. I mean, they just melt in your skin. You want to wear it. I'm like, Roland, give me some of those
Mm.
hyper shirts because they feel so good. I think that's a perfect. And it's funny you say that because a student recently came to me and goes, "Oh, sir, I was at this XYZ martial arts school and I bought one of the shirts." I'm like, "Really?" It's just so comfortable. I mean, I was like, "Oh, wow, this is really comfortable." So I bought one and I wear it around the house, not out in public because I'm a Park student, but it's really comfortable. I think we should have the same thing in our schools. And I was like, huh, because actually that's my weakness, actually, when it comes to swagging. So I was like, wow, that's interesting that he would make that comment like that.
Yeah. So what's like your favorite piece of clothing you have now? Okay, what do you wear most often? Is there like a certain shirt? Not like your branded
Right.
Thrive
No,
shirt.
actually tank tops and workout pants. These right here. These guys.
Oh, okay, it's just like
Yeah,
Adidas
that,
track.
when I go into the office, the mesh, real thin mesh polo shirt, that's all embroidered and stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
okay, cool. So now how many kids do you have?
I have one beautiful daughter.
You want a daughter. Okay, cool. So that's what I thought. That's the only one I knew about, but I wasn't sure if you had any else. Did she train in Taekwondo? Is there a certain pressure for her to perform a certain way because you're her dad? Like, how do you navigate that as a
You know
father?
what? That never really ran across my mind. I believe the apple does not fall far from the tree. And that is so true. And Isla understands my passion for martial arts, for Taekwondo. She also understands my daddy's Grandmaster Park. So she, just from being passionate, understands that. And she loves Taekwondo. She actually loves going. I don't say it's just kind of part of our lives. Just like she loves to play piano. And there's really no, if there is intended purpose with passion driven, I don't think you have to really force anybody to do it. I think that's been also one of our core ingredients of making Spark so successful. Because our passion has always been to help martial arts school become more successful. Because Ronso and I believe in. It breaks our hearts to see martial arts school owners struggle because they're in such a great business to help the community and impact lives and change it. To see them struggle with double-digit students and just barely getting by, that just kills us. And that's the whole reason we created Spark, and that is still the core reason of having Spark. And we'll do everything to go out of our way to help a struggling school owner.
So you said before that you're able to get a lot of data points across the schools. So is there any trends or things you've noticed, like from your data, that you can help an average martial arts school, like whether it's the average amount of tuition they charge or quit rate, or what have you seen in the data?
I've always, not always, I'm a big believer of the yin yang. I think the industry's not so focused, it's more leveraged towards the one side, the yin rather than the yang, which is let's get leads, marketing, signing up more students, and growing. And other side of the yang, they're completely missing out on, which is retention, servicing the student, and understanding churn. And I think that's an area that is underestimated, undervalued, and not enough focus upon, because it's so much easier to maintain our existing customers and upsell them versus the other. There's so much work that goes into getting a new student versus trying to keep the current ones. And I think if we understand the science, meaning, hey, at day XYZ, this is what's happening in your school. At days ABC, that's what's happening. If we can have the necessary data to really understand where our core weaknesses of our school, perfect example is I have a wellness doctor. Okay, like I said, I'm 56 years old. My daughter's only 6 years old. I started late. So what's my game? Longevity. So I want to know what's going on in my body. So every 4 months, I get my blood work and I get a complete panel. And that panel says, oh, Mr. Park, you're low on vitamin D. You're also low on this. You're low on testosterone. You're low on this. And also your liver's a little elevated. What's going on? We need to cut back. And then he'll come up with a solution scientifically customized to my body, and then measure progress scientifically, and then say, listen, within the next 4 months, if you do these, we should see an improvement in the deficiency of this, increase of that, and no more. That's the type of solutions that we need to really level up our school. So that way, every day we're going into our school, we're driving to a destination and we're getting closer and closer. And
Like when I go ahead.
And that is where we thrive. And that's how we're going to thrive and take things to the next level, to understand that. And I think there's just too much of raw. You got to change your mindset, this and that. Listen, you're a martial artist. You've been a martial artist for how many decades? What degree black belt are you? You're still struggling with mindset and thinking pattern and confidence and this and that. Maybe you need to get rid of that belt and start training again. Go back on the floor and train.
Yeah, so I feel like there you said like retention's more important than getting new students, which is if you're a business owner, especially like software, more than anything, retention is the most important thing for software,
Churn.
right? Especially when it comes to value in the company. And I know selling later, like retention is probably the most important thing. But, and that I feel like for martial arts students, yes, it's true. But is there anything that maybe this is a Ron question, I'm not sure. Is there something that you've seen from the data of Spark itself that tells you something about the industry that maybe you didn't expect, or you think people need to know about, like from the data, from the science that you get from Spark?
Wow, gee, there's just so much point to generalize. Gave a generalization, which is the retention. The customization is that's where it's important, because I'm a big believer one size does not fit all in our industry, and I think that's why franchising has not been a huge thing in our industry. If it has, we will probably see some great name brands become a franchise. And wow, that franchise, that hasn't been the case in our industry because obviously one size does not fit all. So I think understanding personal data, just like getting blood drawn and running all the panels of your blood work, I think that's important. But if you were to say, since you have that data and you're able to really point you, depending on the school, to generalization, you and I know every business, there's only 5 areas. There's marketing, there's sales, okay, there's SOP, okay, and then there is retaining our customers, and then there's also aesthetics, which is something we all take granted for the power of aesthetics of your school. That's so important. If you were to tell me number one, it wouldn't even be data that I would pull from Spark. It would probably be aesthetics of our school, because a lot of school needs improvement in that. You know that restaurant down the street from your house called Cafe Moderano? Have you heard of it?
No.
By Stevie Moderano. At one point, he was considered one of the top 100 restaurants in the world. He was like he's from, and also very passionate about food. He combined those two,
Okay.
and he was a hell of a chef. He still is, of course. And he came up with a brand called Cafe Moderano. And one of the things I admired about it was, first of all, it was like a 3-hour wait, literally, to get a table there. And it's only like a 15 table restaurant. But he would close during the slow time, literally for about 4 weeks. But one of the things he did during those 4 weeks, he would completely remodel his restaurant. Aesthetically, he would change the color. And I thought that was so powerful. And I think that's one of the most underutilized tools in our industry too, leveraging the aesthetics of our school to level up the operations of every aspect of it. Because to a mom that's walking into your school with their child, clean, bright means safety. And we go into our school every day, the smell of sweat, the chipping, the stains, and we don't see it and we don't smell it because it becomes subconscious. But what's more powerful than the ability to build a rapport is our human sixth sense: sight, smell, and sound, especially smell. If you have a school that stinks like feet and a mom walks in, no matter how nice you were, great rapport builder you were, she goes back home, talks about, did you go to that karate school today? Yeah, I don't know. The instructor was nice. Something just didn't feel right. Because when she walked in, she smelled foot. Her subconscious mind said, oh, this place stinks.
Yeah, it's dirty. I don't want my child to be in a dirty place. And
Right,
dirty
right.
could be also mean getting sick, right? And that's probably natural instinct is if a place smells bad, just like if a food smells bad, you don't eat it. That's like
I would
your
recommend
nose telling you.
also, that's the first thing I recommend. I said, why don't you do a sixth sense audit? But what do you mean?
That's a good idea.
Why don't you grab one of your friends that's never been to your school, tell them to walk in and ask them about general opinion of the appearance of the school, the smell of the school, and everything. You'll be surprised what they say.
Yeah. And to go even more on data, like when I coach martial arts school owners, and so I teach them how to do all organic. I don't do their website, I don't do their software, I don't do their Facebook ads. I teach them how to get students organically through strategic partnerships with schools, daycares, and businesses. So those 3 areas are the main focus. And we'll also do after school programs. I show them how to do it and actually convert into students at their martial arts school instead of just like teaching some satellite program. And when we do it, it's like there's a plan of attack that's all data driven. One of the first things they get is a spreadsheet that we customize for them that has all the local educational facilities in their area. And it'll have what the person's name is, what their number is, how many kids are in the school, what grade. And then we go down the list and we attack it. And then we keep vital statistics of, okay, cool, this school has 600 kids in it. Okay, cool. So we want to collect at least 400 leads. Then we should convert between 1% and 3% of those. So that means we're going to get between, let's say there's 600 kids, we're going to get between 6 and 18 new members for that one school. Okay, cool. I know exactly what the KPI is. And we go down the list. Okay, cool. If we do all of these, then you're going to have 280 new members, but guess what? You're not going to do all of them. There's no chance. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to get in all of them, right? All we need to get to is in 4. If you get to in 4 of them, you're going to have on the low side 48 new members and the high side 130. And you only get to a couple, and it's not me guessing. This is the math. This we've done it over and over again.
Right.
And they love that because they see the potential. And instead of, oh, a lot of times I think people just throw money at Facebook ads.
Right.
I call it like Facebook roulette. Like you just spin the wheel and hope that it lands and someone shows up. Most of the time the leads are poor quality, don't answer. But yeah, if you're not, the other thing is if you're not tracking, we call them the vitals. That's what we like to call it instead of stats, because stats sounds boring. Vitals is like the health of your business, right? Like you go to the men's health center, they're checking your vitals, right? So whether it's like new students, quit students, leads, appointments set, we like to track gross revenue month to date, not just gross revenue, just at the end of the month. Oh, what did we get to? No, month to date. So every day I say, okay, it's a third of the month. Okay, we're at 4,000. Okay, it's a 10th of the month. We're at, I don't know, 12,380. Okay, cool. And that way you can see how much money, like where you're tracking.
Right. That's why, like, yeah, Spark sends a daily report. You literally get a daily report.
Exactly.
Financials. You know, what you said is so powerful because we actually did the same thing. Before the pandemic, our main source of generating students was with building organic relationship in the community, which was directly working with the local schools. We did that for literally a decade. At the mistakes I made, and at the end we dialed it into a science. And then when the pandemic hit, we couldn't do that, and that's where the whole digital marketing was discovered. That's where we discovered, and then we never went back, actually.
Yeah, and it definitely got harder after COVID. I'd say a little harder. Also, all the school shootings that are obviously horrific, like that has made it a little bit harder too. Okay, because you used to be able to just walk into a school.
No,
you
can't walk into.
Yeah, now there's a vestibule, there's security, so there's extra steps. But it still can work.
You can't even walk into the school.
Yeah, exactly.
Locked.
It's sad. That's the truth. But okay, but there's still a way to get in if you do have the right recipe, right? You just got to know what to say, when to say it, who to talk to, what's the plan of attack. Just keep track of it. How many martial arts schools do you know that they're just not organized? They don't even know how many students they have. They'll be like, yeah, we have 400 students, and you visit their school and you see the cards, and some of the attendance has been marked in 2 years, and they're like, oh yeah, this person definitely still trains, right? It's like they have 400 students, but somehow their revenue is $14,000. That doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
Right.
That makes, yeah. I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I think our industry needs another adjustment. The timing was so perfect. I think the industry was at a point where Spark was so needed. Now I think we're at that another point where we need scientific solutions. We need science. And I think because, like you said earlier, so regurgitated, rehashed content, and talk about content now these day and age, a school owner wants to, there's enough free content out there for them to experience at least a level 2, 3 success out of 5. You know what I mean? I mean, there's just so much content out there. They just have to go and look for it. Going into one of those clothing store that's got every brand, it's 50% off, but you got to go through it and look for it and say, here's something Gucci of it. And
yeah. You got to find the gems at Marshall's.
Yeah, I think we can. I think there's enough content out there for every school owners to do that. Especially if you're just a level 1 school owner, you want to go to level 2 and level 2 school. I mean, school owners, there's plenty of content for them to out there get to the triple digit. I think right after triple digit, when you start hitting 150 to 200, I think that's where you need to really understand science, and you have to have the right technology in your school, because you just cannot just have technology just to take attendance and just have them in the software.
Yeah, and only send someone an email when their credit card doesn't come out.
Exactly.
Then you start calling, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. I want to know from you, what is something, you've been in the industry for a while, I think a lot of people are familiar with Spark. What is something people don't know about you?
Don't know about me?
Yeah.
great person to know. And also, especially to have a friend.
That's your thing, is like people don't know that. People don't know. I'm a
No,
good thing to
okay.
know. That's your thing.
What people don't know about me, I'm a pretty transparent guy. Sometimes my wife is a little too honest, a little too transparent. I'm a no BS guy. I shoot straight from the hip. I'll say what's on my mind. I'm opinionated. I'll blurt things out, and sometimes it comes across the wrong way. Some of the things you don't know about me, it's not like who you see me as out there in the world. There's a whole other side of me that you don't know about.
I'm not saying that, but it might be like a part of you. Hey, people don't know I hunt lobster. I don't know. It could be any.
One of the things I do take a lot of pride is the balance of my time, especially at this point in my life, being 56 and technically 57 in Korean, and having a child late part of my life. And I think balancing life is very important, because there's some of us are so dedicated to what we do, especially as martial artists. Is one of the things, passion driven businesses, the business owners working literally 60 to 80 hours a week. They're coming home after the kids go to bed. Okay. And I think one of the most important valuables is to understand time. Okay. That you don't have a lot of time at the end of the day. One hour gone is hour gone forever. One of the things you probably don't know about me is how much I value my time, even though I give it willingly. But there is another part of me it really values the essence of time.
How do you spend your free time?
I spend my free time with my family. Try to do a lot of things with my daughter. We have a house in the Florida Keys. We try to go spend every weekend there.
Which key is it? Is it Key West or
no, Isla Morada? Actually,
Almirada? Okay.
Tavernier, yeah, Isla Morada.
That's like right under. It's like Key Largo, and
Yeah,
then
Key
that one.
Largo, and then Key Largo is Isla Morada. Also, reward myself. I like to reward myself, like we talked about earlier. I like watches. Also,
You like luxury watches? Okay, so
also, I like fashion too. Believe it or not, one of those guys that don't mind going shopping with my wife in the mall.
Like for her or for you?
For both of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm into designer things. I guess I'm just at a point in my life. I'm enjoying myself immensely, but at the same time, I believe everyone can balance their time where they can enjoy their entrepreneurship and the rewards of it, and not tip it the other way. Because I've seen things go the other way. I've been there myself, where you get a little too lackadaisious because you're doing well, and you're like taking your eyes off the ball. I think it's important to have that core balance. And I think that's why that book is really powerful. Buy Back Your Time with Dan Martell. And they scientifically lay things out in there. And one of the things you probably don't know about me, I live by my calendar. Another thing you probably don't know about me, I have a full-time executive assistant. Okay. I also have a full-time house manager. Okay. So buying back your time is leveraging monetary to gain more time to produce more. So before I had an executive assistant, everything had to get done by either by myself or my wife. Okay, just having that executive assistant, and you don't have to have one at the level I want to have. When I say assistant, I'm not talking about GMP. You can pay $80,000 for an assistant to have on your hip and at your disposal. No, even as a business owner, there are so many assistants, from virtual assistant that you can literally pay hundreds of dollars a week to thousands of dollars a week. There's so many ways, but you got to get out of the mindset of getting rid of your low level, time demanding tasks so you can work on a lot of high level stuff, or have an extra 3 to 4 hours a week to spend with your family. How awesome would it be for you to come home 1 hour earlier than you normally do? That 1 hour, do you know how powerful that is? If you really think about it, if you get home 1 hour before your normal time, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, even 10 minutes would be a lot. 10 minutes compounded by a week.
I mean, imagine that 1 hour, your kids are still up. They're not in bed. Or 1 hour is enough where your kids are going to bed. You spend time with them, read bedtime stories, ask how their day was, and then you have enough time to spend with your spouse, talk about how their day was, and have a glass of wine with them before you go to bed. That's the
Mm.
power of our.
All right,
I,
I want to ask you now. Sorry, go ahead.
yes,
Let
go
me
ahead.
interrupt you.
Go ahead.
So I want to ask you some just random questions that kind of people get to know you a little bit better. What's the best gift you've ever received?
The best gift I have ever received was
And don't just be like, oh, it was a drawing from my daughter. Okay, something
actually,
like,
hold on a second, honey. Gosh, she was just in here. She recently gave me this. Very emotional about it. This jewelry box from Louis Vuitton, but she was able to take some of my daughter's drawing. I love Daddy pictures, and she was able to have Louis Vuitton put that on there with timestamp. So it's like, yes, it's a designer brand, but I know this designer brand is they make their stuff so well, it'll last forever. It'll last something that she'll look back one day when I'm gone and say, I made this for Daddy. Yeah, to me, receiving timeless gifts. My wife would give me some really wonderful gifts, but little timeless gifts like that's important. Something that stamps time and memories. I think it's
yeah,
wonderful gifts.
that's beautiful. I love that. And I love that it meshes the sentimental part of a daughter's drawing, but also the designer stuff you like.
Yeah, that's
It's
so
cool that you
cool.
got,
Yeah, this
yeah.
was really expensive. I've been wanting to get it for a couple of years, but I had to get it because Louis Vuitton said they're no longer doing this, where you're able to take some of your things and they embed it into the brand. So this was like a jewelry box, and on the top it says "I love Daddy." The stick person she drew. It was a timeless gift.
So how do you think you became a dad late when you were 50, right?
Yes.
So how do you think you're different now as an entrepreneur or as a martial arts instructor before you had your own kids versus after, before you had your daughter?
Oh, you know what? It was the will of God. Everything happened for a reason that way. But if I can have the power in my own hand, I would definitely have her at least 10 years ago. I mean, for those of you who don't have kids, I'm not saying, but I can't remember life before that. It's probably the most empowering thing that's ever happened to me. And she's probably my greatest, not probably, she is my greatest accomplishment. And yeah, you got to become a father. I don't know what more than tell you. Becoming a father is probably the most, there's nothing like it. You're closer with God. You also you become so selfless. It's amazing. You wouldn't even think twice to sacrifice your life for your child. Not even. That book, go take me. Without a
Yeah.
reasonable doubt. It is probably the most powerful emotion that a human being could ever have, becoming a parent. I strongly
Yeah.
advise
I'm
it.
not a parent yet, but I want
Yeah, I
kids.
strongly advise it. I think I don't want to say you're missing out life because at some point some people just chose not to have kids, which is something very personal, intimate. But becoming a father was probably the most greatest thing that's ever happened in my life.
Mm. All right, next one. Tell me the favorite place you've ever traveled.
Favorite place we've ever tried? Probably Thailand.
Taiwan?
Thailand.
Cool.
Yeah, my wife and I we went over there for about 3 weeks, and that's one of the most beautiful places we've ever visited. People are so nice, and not to mention the American dollar really stretches over there because it's a third world country. I'm talking you can get
Yeah,
a
live like a
2 hour
king.
massage for $10. You know, and yeah, it's a very beautiful, exotic country, very safe. And like I said, the dollar goes far over there. When I was over there, I got like 3 suits, 3 customs, this, that, offer like under $2,000. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, Thailand. Definitely I recommend Thailand.
Beautiful. All right, next one.
And
Let's
of
see
course,
here.
like,
What is your favorite?
also South Korea too. You gotta go
Yeah,
Seoul. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
Seoul
yeah.
definitely too. It's totally different from Thailand, but I would probably say if you had to choose two polar opposites, I would do that.
Yeah, Thailand's on my list. I think I'm gonna get there. Hopefully, I think in 2025. That's like the first place I really want to go. I feel like I want to go before I have kids, which is kind of with the next couple of years. So I need to go there soon because it's such a far,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
definitely. I'd recommend to
Um,
get traveling out of the way. Next year, we're going to start travel internationally because Lila's at that age where she will start to appreciate it and remember it as a child. And the
yeah.
first place we're going to take her out of the country is Seoul, actually.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. What next one? What's your favorite snack?
My favorite snack, you don't believe it, I'm a snacker. I restrain myself much as I can, but my
It
favorite,
doesn't have to be something that's like healthy. It could be something that is my favorite, but I stay away most of the time. What's
I'm a snacker. I like snacks, and I try to stick with healthy snacks. Yeah, I have an app on my phone called Yuka, Yuka, and it's been my evilness because you can scan stuff and it'll rate it and it tell you why it's rating. I've been finding myself going to Costco because I like to buy back snacks and stuff, and I'll scan it and be like, oh, that says zero. There's a Costco potato chip that got at 100 and it's got a good rating. I'm like, oh, good. And I've been snacking on that. So, yeah, I'm a snacker. I do chips and things like that. But I like to snack on things that's going to not make my stomach really full. Yeah, stay away from the mainstream stuff, Doritos, Cheetos, and things like that. Yeah, but I do snacking. One of my favorite things to do is pick up a snack and start watching TV at night before I go to bed. I like to watch about an hour of. Right now, I'm into a series called Power. It's starting with 50 Cent.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You
I
know,
remember the commercials.
I like to watch Narcos type of
I love Narcos. Yeah.
documentaries. And on Netflix, I've watched every Narcos documentary on Pablo Escobar. And then,
Wait, you see the Griselda one?
yes, I was just gonna say that her
I hated that one. I hated it. I loved all the other ones. You like the Griselda
she
one?
was ruthless. That lady was
I
ruthless.
know. I didn't like that one. That one really that season I didn't think was good. I think she was a believable actress. I don't know. I liked all the other Narcos. Have you seen Succession?
No, I haven't.
That's on HBO. Watch that. If you're a business person, which obviously you are, Succession is amazing. Super good writing, super funny. You think about business as like a giant conglomerate. Succession is absolutely amazing. You see a bunch of kids who are trust fund babies who don't appreciate anything, and it's really
Oh,
cool.
cool. I
Yeah, you like that
I
one.
know those kids
All right.
recently that took $250 million from a bit cryptocurrency scam. Did you hear about that? A couple of three young kids stole $250 million somehow through the whole cryptocurrency, and then they got a little stupid, started partying. They spent $250,000 one night in Miami partying, and then that's how they
Yeah.
got caught. Actually,
Miami or Vegas is the only place you can actually do that.
yeah,
Like, where else could you actually even spend that money if you wanted to,
yeah, yeah.
right? In one night.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um, all right, last one. What's one new thing that you want to try?
One new thing that I would like to try. Oh, that's an interesting question. What is one new thing I'd like to try? Jeez, what is one new thing I would like to try? Oh, jeez. I'd have to really think about that one.
Maybe you don't have something yet. Maybe you like what you're doing, or maybe you'll think about something later, something new you want to try.
Oh, you know what's something I would like to try that I've been wanting to try, and it pops every now and then. I like to get certified in scuba diving.
Oh, amazing. Do it 100%. I'll go diving with you.
Yeah, I
Happily
would
go
like to.
diving
Yeah,
with
I
you.
would like to get certified. I've been wanting to do that forever, especially living here in South Florida. We have a Key Largo John Penny Camp, which is one of the most beautiful reefs you can snorkel dive in. And
Yep,
not to
yep.
mention that I would love to also. Oh, I would love to learn how to do that and learn how to spearfish.
Spearfish. Okay, well, that's
Spearfishing.
two in one.
Yeah, I
Definitely
would
do
like
that.
to learn. Yeah, I've always wanted to learn to do that. Yeah, that's it right there.
Here's what I tell people. You've been to a concert before, right?
Only maybe two, three in my life.
Actually?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. You don't like concerts.
I'm not a big concert guy. Ron still goes to
Okay.
50 concerts a year, literally.
Yeah, Ron's a nice, crazy concert. Okay. You've been to like let's say like a big sporting event
Yes,
or a
yes,
play or something. And I'm sure you sat all the way in the back at some points. And then you probably, at some points, you sat all the way at the front.
yes.
So it's like snorkeling to me is like sitting all the way in the back. You can still see it. You're there. You're having fun. Scuba diving is your front row. Like you have a
Wow.
fish this far away from you.
Right.
And that's why scuba diving, it feels like you're in space. Like it
Mhm.
really feels like you're in a different world. There's different colors you've never seen before, textures you've never seen before, shapes you've never seen. And I don't dive all the time. I dive 3 to 4 times a year, but like it is, you're like, wow, this world is beautiful. And there's all these things in the water that other people will never, ever see. And the fact that I get to see it, I feel very lucky. So you should definitely get your scuba diving license.
Yeah.
We can go down together. It'd be super awesome.
We'll have to
Maybe
invite you
try
down
to,
to the Keys, to my island
let's do
house
it.
or
I'll
beach
take you
house,
down.
whatever you want to call it, and go on my boat and let's do that. Let's go snorkeling,
Yeah,
diving
that
together.
sounds awesome. Thank you so much for getting on here. If anyone wants to reach out to you, maybe they want to try Spark or they have questions, how do they find you?
Oh, it's very simple. Sparkmembership.com. And we also launched something really special. A lot of things that we were talking about today, which is now sparkthrive.com and working with Roland Osborne. This is a really exciting project. And once it's to fruition right now, once it's really dialed in really tight, I think we're going to see some. I think it could be the game changer for our industry. I think this is exactly what our industry, I don't want to say wanted, it needs. We need something concrete, almost like 99%, that could help our industry go to the next level in a scientific manner, where we're just like taking that blood out and say, hey, listen, here's a situation with your school. Okay, here's a 15-page report, and let's come up with solutions. So that way you're going into your school every day working with intent and purpose and direction. And I think that's so important. And I think that's what's needed in our industry next.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on here. My name is Matthew Brenner. If you have any questions, you can find me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1 or email me matthew at wdojo.com. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.